Today, I'm going to explain an action sci-fi movie called Bloodshot. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens in Mombasa, Kenya, where we see a U.S. military officer, Ray Garrison. He is on a solo mission to rescue a hostage from a terrorist group that has already killed 4 of his comrades. Ray then storms into the building and eliminates the terrorists one by one, but he soon comes across the final boss, who is holding one of his comrades hostage. Ray drops his weapon and starts negotiating with the terrorist. The latter demands a helicopter to escape, to which Ray pretends to agree. But when the terrorist proceeds to bring out his phone, Ray quickly grabs his gun and shoots him dead. After completing his mission successfully, he returns home to his wife, Gina. They are overjoyed to meet after a long time apart, and they hug each other. The couple then goes on vacation to an Italian coastal town, where they make many wonderful memories. At night, after they finish having coitus, Gina sees several battle scars on his body and becomes very worried. However, Ray assures her that despite all the wounds, he will always come home to her. The next morning, when Ray wakes up, he doesn't see Gina anywhere. He finds a note instead claiming that she went outside to get some breakfast. Ray doesn't think much of it and proceeds to get ready for the day. But shortly after, 2 unknown people break into his room and attack him. Ray easily defeats both of them and rushes out in search of his wife. Outside his door, he bumps into a British man and apologizes. But moments later, Ray stumbles and falls to the ground, feeling dizzy. The British man comes to check on him, asking if he needs help. However, he soon changes his demeanor and injects Ray with a sedative. Tough luck, old bean. In the following scene, Ray awakens tied to a chair and notices the same British man dancing in front of him. He introduces himself as Martin Axe and asks who tipped him off about the situation in Mombasa. Ray responds that he doesn't know and that it's just his job to follow orders. Martin realizes he won't cooperate easily, so he brings in a tied-up Gina and threatens to murder her. Ray begs him to let her go because she has nothing to do with this, but Martin refuses. He asks Ray the same question about Mombasa again, but the latter still can't answer it. As a result, Martin eventually shoots Gina with a nail gun, killing her mercilessly. The sight devastates Ray, and he begins screaming at the top of his lungs, "I am Groot!" He warns Martin that he made a grave mistake and that no matter where he goes, he will find him. Martin thanks him for the heads up, but then shoots Ray in the head, killing him. Sometime later, we see Ray waking up in a laboratory. As he looks around the place in confusion, a man named Emil Hartig approaches him. Harting states that he is the director of a company called RST, which stands for Rising Spirit Technology, but sounds like a bullshit extra charge on your bill. A woman named KT also arrives, informing Ray that he had died and the military donated his body to RST. She claims that Ray has no family because the military only gives away the bodies of unclaimed soldiers. It turns out RST was able to bring the dead Ray back to life using their technology. Following this, Harting explains that RST has been running several experiments to restore the military's critical assets. These include creating skeletal structures for agile and strong bodies, as well as strengthening the nervous system to improve reactions. While RST has created several groundbreaking weapons, Ray is the first person they have been able to revive. Strange that they chose his washed-up old ass. Harding goes on to explain that he was revived with the help of nanites, which are biomechanical constructs. The nanites also allow Ray to heal himself after injuries, but they must be recharged regularly. Harting then asks for his name and military rank, but Ray has no recollection of his past. Next, they show Ray around the place, and he discovers that they also have rehabilitation areas, where ex-soldiers with restored body parts push themselves to their limits. Harting reveals that KT was a Navy swimmer in Syria who was hurt in a chemical attack that damaged her trachea. She now has a new respirator, which has significantly improved her breathing. They then introduce Jimmy, a former Navy officer who lost both legs in a bombing in Afghanistan, but now wears prosthetic legs. Next is a man named Tibbs, who is a marksman in Iraq. He has lost his vision, but it has been restored with advanced eye implants. Later that night, Ray wakes up from his sleep and decides to explore the facility. He punches a pillar, but instead of him getting injured, the pillar cracks. Why did he try that? Ray is overjoyed when he realizes that he has superhuman strength. Later, he comes across KT, who is training underwater. She soon comes out of the pool, and Ray tells her that he had a nightmare, but KT responds that it is impossible because he has no memories. That's not how dreams work. After this, she invites him for a drink, to which he agrees. They share shots while listening to music, but after the first sip, Ray begins to recall his time in Mombasa. He finally remembers his relationship with Gina and how Martin Axe killed her. Consumed by rage, he vows to find the villain and kill him. Following this, Ray leaves the facility and uses advanced nanites to track Martin's location in Hungary. Meanwhile, Harting communicates with him via microprocessors in his brain, warning him not to go there. He tells Ray that he now belongs to him, but the latter doesn't think so. Our hero then steals a plane from RST and learns how to fly it from a manual he finds on the internet. Shortly after, Ray reaches Hungary and corners Martin and his armed men in a tunnel. For some reason, Martin isn't shocked to see the person he killed suddenly alive, but he's certainly terrified, so he orders his men to finish him off. Ray easily manages to defeat them, and despite being shot several times, his wounds heal in seconds. After killing everyone, he confronts Martin, who immediately starts pleading for his life. He claims that Harding is manipulating him, but he can help. However, Ray refuses to listen and brutally shoots him to death, completing his revenge.
I call that a bloodshot.
In the morning, Ray drives to a location where KT, Jimmy, and Tibbs are waiting for him. He tells them that it wasn't necessary to pursue him because he would have returned to the facility anyway. It is revealed that his nanites have low energy because his body was repaired many times during the earlier fight. Later that night, while Ray is recharging his energy, Jimmy suddenly shows up. It seems that during the recharge process, Ray is unable to move or speak. Taking advantage of this, Jimmy mocks him for being foolish enough to believe that Gina is actually dead. The revelation shocks Ray, but he soon falls unconscious. At this point, we discover that Harting has been using Ray as a puppet to kill his enemies. He has planted false memories in Ray's mind. With the help of his programmer Eric, it turns out that everything we saw at the beginning of the movie was just a simulation designed to trick Ray. In reality, Martin had never met Ray or killed his wife. Martin is not even the first victim, as Ray has assassinated numerous people under the same guise. These targets were former RST scientists who had left the company for some reason. After Ray falls unconscious, Eric begins resetting his memories and altering his recollection of Gina's death. He replaces Martin's face with that of another man called Barris. KT finds the whole situation disturbing and asks Harting to stop. However, he instructs her to mind her own business and concentrate on her job. He threatens to turn off her enhancements if she dares to interfere again. Sometime later, the rebooted Ray wakes up in a confused state again. Harting and KT introduce themselves and show him around the facility just like before. Later that night, while KT and Ray are drinking again, he recalls Gina's death and recognizes Barris as her killer. Ray then steals a plane from the facility to get the job done. Harting pretends to stop him as usual, but a vengeful Ray refuses to listen. Shortly after, Ray learns that his target is in England and heads there. He soon breaks into Barris's mansion and begins killing his men one by one. Meanwhile, Eric hacks into the mansion's CCTV cameras, allowing them to see what's going on. He discovers that Barris has hired Wiggins, a brilliant programmer who is developing an EMP device to use against Ray. It is revealed that this device emits an electromagnetic pulse capable of destroying all of the nanites repairing Ray's body. However, before the device can be activated, it must be charged to 100% capacity. Harting realizes the situation is too dangerous and orders Ray to leave. However, the latter ignores the warning and mutes him. Before the EMP is fully charged, Ray enters Barris's room and begins accusing him of murdering his wife. The man is confused and denies killing anyone, but Ray shoots him to death.
I call that a bloodshot,
he says again, thinking it's the first time. Moments later, someone activates the EMP, causing his nanites to stop functioning. Ray immediately collapses to the ground and RST loses all access to him. In the following scene, he awakens to a powerful electric charge and sees Wiggins in front of him. Ray assumes that he's in danger, but Wiggins clarifies that he doesn't care about Barris's death and was only forced to work for him. He actually wants to help Ray and asks about his motive for killing Barris. Ray explains his wife's death, but admits that he has been seeing different faces of her murderer. Upon hearing this, Wiggins quickly deduces what RST is up to. He reveals that there were rumors of people who left RST being killed one after the other, with the method appearing to be personal revenge. He then informs Ray that his memory is being manipulated and that RST is using him as a toy to kill people. unbelievable. The revelation leaves Ray shocked, and he assumes that Gina must still be alive. He decides to look for her, but Wiggins is concerned that if he leaves, Harting will again erase his memories and frame him as the murderer. Ray assures him that this won't happen, even though he has no reason to assure him of that, and gives him a sample of his nanite-infused blood for inspection. After some time, Ray tracks down Gina's location and goes to see her. She is delighted to see him after so long, and they warmly hug each other. However, when he reveals that he has returned home to be with her, she is perplexed. Gina informs him that it has been 5 years since they last saw each other, and that they parted ways on mutual terms. Furthermore, she is already remarried and has 2 children. Upon hearing this, Ray is devastated and leaves without saying a word. While he is driving, he is suddenly struck by an armored vehicle. Turns out Jimmy and Tib have tracked him down and are now pursuing him. They relentlessly chase Ray through the city, and Jimmy's prosthetic legs are destroyed when a truck collides with his vehicle. Moments later, Tibbs shoots Ray with a bullet capable of disabling the nanites, causing him to lose consciousness. In the next scene, Ray is once again brought back to the lab. Harting then orders KT to go after Wiggins, but she refuses to do so. This enrages Harting so much that he turns off her respirator, causing her to struggle to breathe. With no other options, KT finally agrees to do the job. We later see her approaching Wiggins on the road, asking him to light her cigarette. He nonchalantly agrees, but as soon as he inhales the fumes from the cigarette, he is knocked out cold. Sometime later, Harting places Ray in a simulation and prepares to erase his memory again. But at this moment, KT returns and lies to him, saying Wiggins got away. It is revealed that she has secretly joined forces with Wiggins, who is currently hacking into the RST system. Shortly after, Ray's reset process begins, but KT enters the control room and disables the system. When Harting learns about this, he attempts to kill her by turning off her respirator, but Wiggins has already disabled the access to her implant, so she can no longer be hurt. At this moment, Ray also awakens and starts wreaking havoc in the facility by throwing grenades. This forces Harting to rush to safety, but not before ordering Jimmy and Tibbs to handle the situation. Jimmy then attaches robotic arms to his back, and the two of them go after Ray. However, even their combined forces are no match for Ray, who seems overpowered. The three fight near an elevator until the structure begins to crumble. Tibbs soon falls to his death while screaming for help, but Jimmy doesn't care. He is determined to destroy Ray, and the two men begin fighting with all their might. The elevator eventually collapses, causing them to fall from the building. Jimmy dies from the impact, while Ray recovers quickly due to his nanites. Aware that his plan has failed, Harting tries to escape in his car, but Ray catches up to him. The evil scientist then fires several grenades at him, causing significant damage, but Ray recovers each time due to his nanites. Harting then warns him that when his nanites reach 0, he will die. Moments later, Ray ends up catching the final grenade, and the two begin tussling with each other. In the end, our hero sacrifices himself by blowing up the grenade between him and Harting, killing them both. In the final scene, Ray unexpectedly awakens to find Wiggins in front of him. It turns out Wiggins had revived him and improved the nanites' stamina. This means that he no longer needs to charge them all the time like before. Science. Ray thanks him and heads outside, where he meets KT. She apologizes for lying to him and keeping Harting's plans a secret, but he doesn't seem to care about that anymore. Ray explains that while they cannot change their past, they have control over their future. The movie ends with the trio driving into the sunset in search of a new life.